Well, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Let's get started. It's the top of the hour. Today, the Go Global webinar series continues, and today the subject is how to sell online in China. So to those of you in the US, a very good morning to you. To those of you in Europe, a good afternoon. I suggest you just sit back, relax, enjoy, grab a cup of coffee or tea or something stronger. And also, I'd like to say a good day to the many of you who are listening to the recorded on-demand version of this webinar. You are all very welcome. My name is John Worthington. I am CEO here at IBT Online, and I'm your host today. I have the huge pleasure of introducing our Go Global webinar series, and today we're all about how to sell online in China. At IBT Online, we are passionate about our Go Global webinar series. It's all about knowledge. It's all about understanding in this fast-moving and ever-changing online and international world. There is always a lot to learn and to keep up to date with. And today's Go Global webinar is just a great example. That is how to sell online in China. And it's all about you and your business and online in China. Now, before we get started, we always like to do a little bit of housekeeping. So to those of you who know the online global webinar series and therefore are returning, well, you know what the drill is. For those of you who are new, just a few heads up pointers. Do know that this webinar is one of our Go Global webinar series to help you grow your sales, your brands, and your businesses globally. This series is now over 3 years old, so there is a rich catalog of recorded webinars available to you online and on demand, covering markets and routes to markets, and they go back several years. They're all available at www.ibt.onl, that's our top level domain, /resources. For future webinars, those that are coming up, and we've got a good number planned, you can go to the same URL with a /webinars. Today's webinar will be about 45 minutes long with this brief introduction by myself, and then I will be handing over to Susanna and Vanessa. There will be 4 polls, so please, in between the coffee, the water, the tea, get ready with your mice because we'll be coming to you and asking for you to contribute. There will be time for your questions at the end. So please do go to that question box. Now, on that question box, on your screen, you can see the bottom right-hand side underneath Pulsar, there are questions. So please click that box and submit your questions. There is a chat box, so if you wish to share ideas and responses, don't hesitate. And also do know at the end of this webinar, there will be a brief survey all about helping us to help you and how we can do better in the future. And finally, we are pleased to be able to say that we will be sending you a copy of this webinar, the recording and the slide deck that will arrive in your email inbox on Friday. So just sit back and relax. There's no need for you to do any work. You'll have a complete copy of this arriving. Now, let's get to the main theme. Today, we are webinaring all about how to sell online in China. And I am very proud, I'm very pleased to be joined by my 2 co-presenters today. On your left, you see Susanna Hardy, and on your right, you see Vanessa Lai Adamson. 2 words on Susanna. Susanna, some of you may know, is our Chief Content Officer, and so is responsible for all of our digital media and multi-channel publications. Susanna brings together and curates a huge wealth of international online research and knowledge that is then made available to you, and it is on our website and available to you through our social media channels. So do go check them out. We have IBT Online white papers, ebooks, infograms, videos, and of course these webinars, which are all about helping you to grow your sales and your brands and your businesses online and globally. And today, the subject is, of course, China. It is a great example of that. Susanna has spent her career working for businesses internationally. Susanna has been in the US, worked and raised in the US and New York, as well as in France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Susanna is multilingual, speaks German, French, Dutch, and English. And today, well, we'll all be speaking English for a common level of understanding. Susanna brings her expertise in international online business development and online marketing to the IBT Online team, and has worked with a wide spectrum of companies to reach out and develop and succeed in export markets. And of course, that includes China. Now to Vanessa. Vanessa is in many ways the star of the Go Global webinar show today. Vanessa is an international, multicultural, multilingual, highly educated in both the sciences and the arts of marketing. She is a work-seasoned and experienced digital native and of course a millennial. Vanessa was born, raised and educated in Shanghai. She earned herself a science degree at Tongji University in Shanghai. And for those of you who may not know, Tongji is one of the leading universities of the People's Republic of China. Vanessa has traveled widely and worked widely, continuing her education abroad. Vanessa headed to Germany, to the Technical University in Munich, which itself is one of the highest acclaimed universities in Germany. And if that was not enough, Vanessa next chose to go to the UK for her Master's in Digital Marketing from the University of Leeds. Vanessa has many years of practical working experience in the digital marketing space, serving the Chinese market, working for American and European companies, as well as Chinese companies, that is both B2B as well as B2C in sectors including software and services and luxury goods, and helping them enjoy a successful business development online in China. Starting with those online marketing strategies through to marketing and managing and implementing, that is search engine marketing, social media, organic growth and paid ads, to campaign performance monitoring and troubleshooting. As you are about to hear, Vanessa knows her online stuff in China. Now, 2 words on IBT Online. IBT Online is a private company. It is both a US and European company, and IBT stands for International Business and Technologies. IBT, we have been in business since 2002, helping companies be successful online and globally. We're proud of our international awards that we have won for the Online Global program. To date, we have served over 400 companies with over 1,000 online global programs, delivering measurable sales, brand, and business growth online for our clients around the world in all of the world's major markets, including, of course, China. Right, with that, I'm going to be handing over to my colleagues. So perhaps, Susanna, are you there?
Hello, John, and thank you for that introduction, and greetings to all of the exporters today. Well, we've got a lot to talk about, and when Vanessa and I were preparing this, we thought, okay, we're going to do the whole of China online in under an hour. That's a bit ambitious. We thought we'd focus on a couple of things. First, sort of giving a big, broad brush approach to the general online environment in China, picking out the things that strike us most when we're working there. And then we wanted to look really a bit more about the main players that you'll have to get to know if you are serious about working online in China. I've headed that section, the BAT or BAT and more section. After that, we're going to really drill down into section 3 to some of the possible strategies for non-Chinese exporters if you want to get a good online presence to meaningfully drive export businesses in China market. And of course, we're all looking forward to your questions at the end. So I left some time there as well. So we're going to focus, as I said, on sort of first a big broad brush approach, then some of the main players, and then really talking about a very practical hands-on approach, some of the strategies we've seen that work. So getting straight down into it, first we're going to look at sort of, the China online. And this graph here, this picture here is one of the ones that I like most. It sums up for me as well as I could one of the most striking elements about China online, which is that it is vast, but that it has a huge potential as well. Given the size of the market and the rapid take-up of the internet, it doesn't seem that surprising that the online population of China is so much bigger than that of the USA. It's a much bigger population, so yeah, it makes it. But nonetheless, it's worth noting, it's twice the size of the USA. China's online population at 772 million people at the end of 2017 is the largest single online population group in the world. So that is the single largest online dedicated group in the world. But what that amazes me is just as much, it's really just how much larger it still has to grow, pretty well double the current size. According to China's Internet Network Information Center, the CNNIC, 41 million people logged on to the internet for the first time in China in 2017 alone. So China's internet penetration rate is only just a little bit above 50%, and the US, by the way, is over 80%. So where do you think that growth is going to come for internet, and what amazing, vast potential further growth? Well, it's all going to be in China. So that's one of the first things to really recognize and keep in the back of your mind when you're looking at China online. The first is to know it's already huge, the #1 in the world. There's still a lot more to come. The next thing that looking at around sort of, and trying to summarize things, we wanted to sort of group some of the major characteristics that we saw. And we've selected these 3 sort of elements that we wanted to highlight. The ones that strike us most when we're working for our clients in China. The first is that it is a highly mobile-focused market. It's a mobile-first market. We'll talk about this and expand this quite a bit further later on. But just for now, I just really want to stress that being mobile-first means it's very fast-moving. It's something about using mobile phones to access the internet, encourages the use maybe of more apps, therefore more development, more change, faster change. It also means, therefore, that you have a more disruptive change and a more disruptive environment to the existing models. So, if you think that your home market in the UK or in Germany or wherever you're sitting at the moment is sort of already disrupted by the internet, China is even more so because of its mobile-first adaptation. Now, more apps, more disruption. This also fosters and increases and has a sort of symbiotic relationship with social media. More people everywhere are fusing the whole search and social. And this is very true in China. So maybe you don't always trust the retail sector, or you don't always trust the public sector, or maybe you just have suffered a lot from counterfeits and scams, whatever. It just feels a lot more reassuring to get recommendations, thoughts, reviews from your friends and your peer groups than from official sources. So, someone in China could say, well, I'm thinking about buying a new car. They're not going to go on Google or the equivalent in search engine in China and say, what kind of car should I get? They're going to go to their social media. They're going to go to their peer groups, their family and friends, and they say, what do you think? What car should I buy? What's a good idea for me? Where can I get a good deal? So content is ever more personalized in China. We're talking a lot about personalized content in the West. It's even more so in China. These 3 characteristics are all interlinked, obviously. And buying online and online payment structures form an integral part of that China social media, as well as we will see later. Now, before I go to my next slide, John, if you want to do a poll, this would be a great moment.
Absolutely, Susanna. Look, thank you very much indeed. Very relevant. We're launching our first poll, so please tune in. Here we go. This is launching. Are you currently doing business in China? Please help us. We'd like to know whether you're doing business in China via in-market partners, whether it's online, offline, thinking about it. Now, let me give you feedback straight from today's audience, and we thank you for contributing. The biggest line is yes, via distributors and in-market partners. That leads at 45%. We have another 30% thinking about it, so thank you for that. And there is nevertheless, it's multi-question and multi-answer. 22% are saying via in-market partner and online. So look, thank you for this. That is very useful. I'm going to close that down. There you go. That's the horn signaling the end of the first poll. Susanna, back to you.
Thank you, John. That's very interesting. And we'll talk more about distributors and the role of that and online that you can use later. So I wanted to drill down a bit into the sort of mobile first and what that and how that means about accessing the market. And I thought I'd put these 2 things with this graph in particular. So in China, 97% of internet access is through a mobile device. maybe that's why the big screen Samsung had such early success there. But so you're picking up your screens, your mobile phones to access the internet. You're not doing it particularly with your PC at home. There's a recent PwC survey that I was watching that I was interested in. 52% of Chinese consumers shop using their mobile on a weekly or daily basis. That means that more people shop, more than 50% shop on e-commerce at some point than don't. So actually, then go into a store. 48% go into a store all the time. 52% go online all the time. The graph on the left-hand side gives you an estimate of the e-commerce versus m-commerce, that's mobile commerce, in the USA versus China. And the conclusion of that forecast is that it's just going to be a minority who are not using their mobile phones already now, but increasingly over the next 2 years. So the first thing is, if you're accessing the internet, you're doing it mobile. And that is, and I just want to show you how mobile that is. 97% is via your mobile. The conclusion is you are doing a lot of e-commerce, a lot of shopping on mobile. Chinese users book movie tickets, weddings, they manage their financial services, they manage wealth, all through their smartphones. And I think what's interesting here is that as a mobile first market, not all of those services are always available offline. In China, there was also a lack of developed credit card systems and mobile payment machines throughout the mainland China. That many people, their first non-cash payment experiences was via their mobile phone before they actually had an ATM. So a lot of those things meant, there were online payments versus credit cards. A lot of those things meant, and again, this very disruptive, very fast evolving market. I wanted to give you an example of what I mean by that with Uber. In the case of Uber in China, what really interested me was that Uber's service took off even faster than it did in the USA. Uber's top 3 most popular cities worldwide, Guangzhou, Hangzhou, and Chengdu, were all in China. And one of the most important reasons is that Chinese users are very fast adopters of and early adopters of mobile devices and social network technologies. So someone saw the app, downloaded it, and it went viral very fast because of the way social media works, because of the way social media is on mobile. So that's, the Didi, which is the China homegrown ride-sharing giant app, bought Uber in China last year, and it's still pursuing that same strategy. So the implication, I think, is pretty profound on this. Not only is China the largest market for mobile apps, it's probably also one of the best places for early adopting of technology and of brands and other things. So if you get it right, it can be very fast as well as very large. And I wanted to share this graph here with you, or this picture really here. It's a picture that actually comes from the European Commission, but I think it's very significant as well for China as sort of this very innovative social commercial model that drives Chinese business, a very content-driven business. And your challenge as a company is to somehow interfere, to somehow play a part between the conversations that are going on between your individual customers, between your customers and your partners, between your partners, customers, and so on. The world is no longer a binary relationship in business where it's you customer versus you company. Now it is much more multifaceted. So that's sort of the main thing I wanted to talk about in terms of China Online. For us as a company, I think the graph on the right is also emblematic of how we feel that savvy small to mid-sized companies in that kind of new paradigm have a great opportunity, an opportunity to engage, reach out to an absolutely huge audience. You don't have to be a mega billion-dollar corporation anymore. You can use online tools. And that includes getting online in China and making an impact on China, after all, the largest online market in the world. So now I just want to talk more now about the main players, and they're generally sort of fondly known as BAT. And we're going to start off what those BAT and all those others mean. So the first BAT, the first B of the BAT is, of course, the search engine, Baidu. I think the key thing every company has to know about doing business in China right from the start is that Western social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, are banned in China. That's why you have the importance of Chinese social media platforms like WeChat, but also Chinese internet giants like Baidu. Baidu, the other A's and T of the BATs, Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, together they're known as BAT. They were all founded at about the same time, at the end of the 20th century. All three have quite sort of charismatic and quite well-known co-founders. And for me, looking at them, all those co-founders look like they came straight out of Silicon Valley. They're all in their mid-40s. They're multi-billionaires. They all have a strong social media presence themselves and a strong media presence themselves. Robin Li, for example, started Baidu from his apartment in Peking when he hired graduate students to help them work on the algorithms that make up the search engine. So when you're looking at an online presence in China, know that the rule book you have founded and your company has worked on so far around Google doesn't work. Baidu has a very different algorithm, a different way of looking at business. It has about a 76% market share across China, and is really the dominant player. It has several other businesses as well. It's since really got into all kinds of hosting services, news services, and especially into artificial intelligence. It is really one of the largest internet companies in Asia. It has gone beyond its own borders to several other Southeast Asian and India, but it is clearly the dominant search engine in China. And we'll talk more about how search engines are used then in China later. Next on my BAT group is Alibaba. And again, this charismatic Jack Ma. Alibaba typically and fondly known as the house that Jack built. Again, founded in 1999. Jack Ma was originally an English teacher, by the way. He's now worth over about $40 billion. It was originally started as a B2B portal to connect Chinese manufacturers with overseas buyers. Think of that. Today, it is the largest e-commerce company in the world. It's moved from a sort of complete marketplace orientation to really a social commercial platform, merging the social with commercial. It allows all consumers to have a lot of fun buying and exploring, and it's very intuitive to use. It's very educational and ludic to use. It's also moved omni-channel. That means online to offline in a very innovative way that I think Amazon is watching carefully. It's also moved internationally. The latest battleground is really India, where Alibaba fights hard with Amazon. It has a strong presence in digital entertainment, and has been a very innovative company all around. It really invented the concept of Singles Day and even Black Friday. I mean, if you look at Black Friday, the graph there shows you Black Friday versus Singles Day. Alibaba turned Singles Day from a university student event to a worldwide phenomenon. Singles Day in 2017 was about $25 billion worth of transactions, about 5 times the size of Black Friday. Put it this way, Amazon ships 3 million packages a day. Alibaba ships 12 million packages a day. So that gives you a view on the size. Now my T out of my BAT, Tencent. Tencent is really what I consider sort of like an internet conglomerate. It is, by the way, China's most valuable company. It's been quoted since 2004, and shares some of the characteristics of both Baidu and Alibaba. It started as a sort of instant messaging service called QQ, but then expanded into multimedia, social networking, like Qzone and Weixin. And now its core social media app is WeChat, which we'll talk about later. Tencent also has a finger in many, many, many pies. It has branched out significantly into entertainment. It's the largest comic, it's the largest pictures, esports, live streaming apps, utilities, all kinds of things. It's also one of China's largest cloud service companies and is taking a seriously large position in artificial intelligence. By the way, for people interested in these things, it has minority stakes in Tesla, Activision, Spotify, so lots of other things as well. So a very diverse group. Now we mentioned WeChat, owned by Tencent. WeChat is you can see it almost like a proxy for online in China. It has something like, in the world, about 1 billion users. That's across the world, and something like 800 million or 750 million in China. On average, Chinese internet users spend 1/3 of their online time on WeChat. So it's a Chinese social media app launched in 2013. It was first started really as a messaging app, but it has so many other functions. It's kind of like a messaging app, like a WhatsApp, combined with PayPal, Facebook, Uber, Amazon, everything else in one, all wrapped up in one. So people would use a WeChat to pay their rent, make investments, find a date, and of course buy and sell. So there again, we have this merger of commerce and social. What's really interesting to me is that instead of focusing on building a largest social network in the world, WeChat focused on building a mobile lifestyle. Its goal is to address every aspect of its users' lives, even non-social ones. So it achieves that through a lot of different ways. It achieves that mainly, though, by building apps within an app. Millions of lightweight apps live inside WeChat, and these apps act like a browser in a mobile network, and they're called accounts, official accounts. And we're going to go diving into those now, but first perhaps a poll.
Susanna, thank you so much. That is great. Absolutely. WeChat, I'm on WeChat. I've been there a number of years. I think it's wonderful, though limited outside China. I highly recommend getting yourself a WeChat account immediately. One of the takeaways from today's webinar, this poll, here we go. I'm launching it now. Do you use social media and online marketing in China? Number 1, yes, extensively with WeChat, Weibo, and others. No, in a limited way. Oh, yes, in a limited way. Our China distributors do this for us. Are you thinking about it? Right, let me give you feedback. The biggest single way ticked item is yes, but only in a limited way. No, actually, I'm wrong. I'm looking at it and it's changed. The biggest one is no at 36%, followed by thinking about it at 35%, and now 25% are saying yes, but only in a limited way. 5% are saying yes extensively. Well done those who are using it extensively. It is the way to go. There's no doubt about that. Look, I'm shutting this one down. That is the end of poll number 2. I thank you for your feedback. That is very useful. We'll be sharing that with you and when you get the slide deck on Friday. I'm handing back to Susanna.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. I wanted to give you 2 screenshots. One of what it looks like if you were having a mobile phone for WeChat Wallet, how you pay things from WeChat, and Alipay, how you pay things on Alibaba Pay. So on every WeChat's personal account, there's a section called Wallet. You open it up, and that gives you an option to transfer or pay your utilities, order a taxi, movies, whatever you want. Similarly with Alibaba Pay. You'll note that both of them have very easily signed, very recognizable, very highlighted areas for QR codes. And we will talk about QR codes later. The sort of orange box for Alipay is basically to look at, you click on that, it goes to a QR code. So these are very important for QR codes. It basically bridges that gap between the online and the offline world. So you get a QR code that associates with your bank account once you've enabled a wallet. And retailers just need to scan the code to accept a payment. So WeChat, we see is just everywhere, and Alibaba also. How do we get WeChat? How do we get Alibaba Pay? How do we do all this? Well, in many ways, you need to do the whole thing. You need to have a Chinese ID, a registered company in China, to set up a subscription or service account by yourself. If you don't have operations in China, you can ask them sometimes to create an account for you, but it won't be seen by users in mainland China. So when John talks about, oh, I might have a WeChat account, does he have a residence in China? I'm not sure. If he does, he will be seen in China. If he doesn't, he will not be seen in China. So if you're using the English version, you can access all kinds of content, both within and outside mainland China. If I look now at the types of how WeChat works and the types of different accounts, the way I see it and the way I can best describe it is this so-called WeChat Moments. And this is really a private circle of friends. Given what's going on at the moment with Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, I think it's a very interesting approach. So if you as a company were saying, okay, let's use WeChat to go on and market our business. We want Chinese consumers and Chinese businesses to recognize us, to engage with us. Let's just get on to WeChat. But if you're not already a Chinese registered company, you can't. And even if you are a Chinese registered company, WeChat Moments is a closed circle. It is a private circle of friends with private communication. You can't just storm in the way Facebook does. So you can't do online marketing the way Facebook does. If your users of WeChat know you see you, they like you. And if they actively say they will follow you, so they have to first know you. Hence the challenge of brand awareness, which is so paramount in the Chinese market. Whereas if you're starting out in a market like Germany or Australia or Mexico or Argentina, then you just start a campaign using Facebook to gain brand awareness. It doesn't work that way in China. WeChat is definitely where you want to be as a brand, because that's where it'll really go viral. That's where it'll really get huge followers. But first you have to earn to get there. There are some ways that you can open an official account. You need to be a Chinese registered, or else it costs a lot of money. You can have official accounts, you can have sponsored moments, or you can have banner ads. So strategic, there was BMW's example there in the middle is a sponsored moment. But sponsored moment can be pretty expensive. They range from sort of $10,000 to tens of thousands of dollars per ad alone. So it's really a very expensive way of getting WeChat people to see you. The official accounts is when you have official ID, a registered company, and China verification. The third way is banner ads and KOLs. Banner ads, again, can be expensive, but there are ways of doing it which are interesting. In the case of KOLs, KOL stands for a key opinion leader. And this is something that's very important, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier with regards mobile and social media. If you're not always clear about who to trust and who not to trust, then you will go to your social peer group and your friends and family. And you'll also look for role models or known key opinion leaders, KOLs, in each sector. Let's say you want to go skiing. Okay, what skiing equipment should I get? Maybe you'll look up the best skiing equipment and who are the best skiers in China to see what they are recommending. These KOLs have WeChat accounts that you can access and pay to advertise on. So that is one way of going about it. Again, I wanted to show this to say this is a very different approach to a Facebook approach for online media. And this is where you actually want, this is your aim, this is your goal where you want to get to. How to get there, how to get the brand awareness that you need in order to really have an effective WeChat strategy. Well, from our point of view, the first step is probably easier if you go via Weibo. Weibo has often been compared to sort of a Chinese Twitter, But I think that really, it really detracts, because Weibo is much more than that. Weibo allows you to do online marketing, and in that sense is more similar to like a Facebook. It allows companies to post content to specific targeted audiences across China. It can give you a segmented audience that can grow your page likes and things and create some kind of a buzz around your brand. And that will then drive traffic either to your website or to more social media, and eventually get you enough of a buzz, enough of a momentum that you can justify having the WeChat account. That's really the main reason why Chinese businesses use Weibo a lot. And I think it works just as well for non-Chinese businesses. So there are different types of accounts you can have. I've listed the 4 basic types that you can have there. The fan reach is more similar to a sort of a Twitter promotional tweets. You could pay to promote content to specific audiences. That's very much like what you would have in a Facebook. Then fan headlines. Weibo users can see the promoted tweets on the very top of their timeline for companies they've chosen to follow. Mini tasks. Now this is a very Chinese solution. It involves basically reposting your content by key opinion leaders, these KOLs, these key opinion leaders. So opinion leaders are just so important for Chinese social media. So there's a vast number of KOLs to choose from. And you can even help, Weibo even has a tool to help you find them for that. And then the 4th way that I've listed there, Super Brand Day. This is a package advertising deal for brands. So people see your ad poster when they open the Weibo account app. And you can get some exposure, becoming a hot trending hashtag under that as well. So if you don't have brand recognition, if you're starting out in China online, this is one of the best ways we find to do it. So companies that don't have brand recognition get in front of potential prospects through Weibo. Now, Weibo for us is a very integral part of any online marketing strategy, looking at building brand awareness in China. And we would definitely say that's one of the key ones. And I think Vanessa will be talking about that when we're looking at direct strategies. Just moving on then towards those strategies, I wanted to just say a quick word before I hand over to Vanessa about e-commerce. And again, some of this sort of thoughts one might have and strategies you might have for other markets, for exporting in other markets, don't always work quite as well in China. We have a lot of clients who first started exporting via e-commerce platforms, even in Amazon, when they said, okay, I don't have a logistic partner yet, or I haven't yet found that in-market partner in Brazil or in Mexico. So I'm going to go via Amazon. It solves a lot of problems. It's not always great for my brand, but I can start there. But in China, it really doesn't work that way either. Again, without the brand recognition, without a WeChat account, without all of those things, you're not really going to have the traction you need to justify some of these things. E-commerce in China is expensive. It's hard to get. So it doesn't really work as a first entry market strategy for many companies. For many companies, it requires you to have China ID. There's an annual subscription rate, which can be, thousands of dollars. The commission rates range from 3 to 10% easily, and the platforms can change them at will. So there's a lot of risk about that too. So while there's good news about going on, take some of the pain away of going onto an e-commerce platform, whether it's Alibaba or JD.com or even 1688, which is really a sort of wholesaler's platform. There are different platforms you can go for, depending on your type of company, but it can be expensive. As I said, there are annual fees and commission, and you need to be a China-registered company for this. Most of all, I think, if you really want to have traction and good follow-through rate for your e-commerce strategy, you need to have in-market customer service for your e-commerce. Chinese customers, Chinese businesses will expect to have a Chinese person answering their questions, and they will ask questions. They are very active to pose questions and get information before buying. So in summary for us, the strategy to go forward for many of the exporters that we see working well into China, who don't have the luxury perhaps of being a huge company, who don't perhaps buy into the market with a fully fledged subsidiary, is first using online tools, building a localized Chinese website, using Baidu search engine marketing, and then starting off your social media with Weibo, and then with the target of going on to WeChat as well. The advantages for us are very clear. It's to build the brand awareness you need in order to access the other platforms, access the in-market demand, and find the right in-market partners for that. So it's driving traffic then to existing distributors, to the existing logistic platforms, or even e-commerce platforms. But before you get there, you need to have built that brand awareness with a localized website. I'm going to pass now to Vanessa to start and talk a bit more about some of the major aspects we see about localized websites and strategies. Vanessa?
Hello everyone, it's a real pleasure to join in and talk to everyone about website localization in China. So just starting right away, here are the 10 steps that we go through when we build localized websites for our clients. So you can see that translating the language is just one of the items. So it's clear that just adding the Chinese translated pages to your existing US website is just not going to cut it. It just won't be a functioning Chinese website. For China especially, you have to build a dedicated website that serves the local market. So it is totally embedded in the China online world. So these 10 features that we identify here to have a localized website are the same steps that we go through for all markets. But there are a few steps that are worth looking at more closely for China. Before we move further, let's just head over to our third poll of the day.
Yeah, Vanessa, thank you so much. Absolutely excited to launch this third poll. Please, can we all get ready? Guess what this poll is going to ask you? It's absolutely about what Vanessa is talking about. So here we go. I'm launching it. It is, do you have localized websites to support your China exports? It'll help you grow your brands. It'll help you grow your businesses over there. So let me get you the feedback here. It is a resounding 75% no, 20% thinking about it, with a impressive, well done those. For those of you who've done it, and it tells me here 10% have localized websites, well done you. You've walked the walk, you've talked the talk, and you've done it. That experience, that business development, we look forward, and we perhaps have some feedback from you. There is another 15% that are saying that our distributors are doing it for us. Well, that is certainly one route. Again, we'll be collating this information and sharing it with you on Friday. I'm going to close this poll down. This is our third one. That's the end of poll number 3. I'm going to be handing back to Vanessa. Vanessa, thank you.
Thank you, John. Some very interesting figure out there. So these are the screenshots of a Chinese website we built. It's very straightforward website, as the client wanted to help out with his in-market agents with Chinese contents. So you can see it doesn't have to be a complicated website to still benefit your business in China. So we talked about 10 steps that we go through for localized websites on the previous slide, but I wanted to point out a few that are especially noteworthy in China. We have already mentioned the importance of being mobile enabled. We saw that Chinese people access internet via their mobiles. So you often build a website with mobile first in mind and then adapt it to a PC. This can be the reverse of the normal procedure for a UK or US website. Chinese are sensitive about design, colors, fonts, all of those user experience elements. You have to take into account how a Chinese person reads the text. For example, Chinese script is very compact. That actually lends itself well to a mobile screen. But it also means you can't use certain fonts that make it blurry. So for example, you wouldn't want to use bold or italics because it gets hard to read. So that is why Chinese websites use more color. We emphasize words and sentences through colors. And the third thing I would like to point out is ICP filing. Now, this is really important. ICP stands for Internet Content Provider, and you're required to file an ICP if you want to have a Chinese website hosted in mainland China. To do the filing, you need a mainland China registered company and local staff. So sometimes your e-market partner can help here. But if you don't have an e-market partner, then it gets very hard to do the ICP filing. In that case, a really good solution is really to host your website in Hong Kong. That works well and will give your website enough up and download speed for you, but you don't need all the Chinese papers to fill out. So the last thing I wanted to mention about Chinese localized website is the Great Firewall of China. You just have to be aware that the government monitors the internet closely and is sensitive to certain content. So wherever you're coming from or wherever your website is hosted, the Great Firewall is still relevant. So once you have a local Chinese website that is built, the challenge is to get it noticed. Baidu doesn't really do organic search, in other words, free traffic. So Baidu responds better to getting paid. Baidu search engine marketing, called SEM, is a great place to start your paid advertising on search engine in China. It works similar to Google AdWords in that you can have text and display ads, and the cost per click price is also based on market bids, namely on supply and demand. But the way you set it up is very Chinese. You have to pay a deposit as an advertising fee, upload your Chinese business license, and include your Chinese phone number as a main contact. And needless to say, there are lots of Chinese internet policy paperwork for you to fill out. And there are also lots of differences compared to Google AdWords. Baidu has a range of products you can use, like display resources, as we would call it, and they have specific areas just to promote your brand called Brand Zone. It can be expensive, but worth thinking about for product launch or some special event. There is also something called Baidu Knowledge. It's a free resource, like a forum, a bit like Yahoo Q&A. So anyone can ask a question and you can participate in answering. So it is one of the few ways to get free brand awareness. Then there is also Baidu information feed ads. These are actually very interesting. You can place ads that are displayed in content-driven Baidu products like Baidu News. Just like Google AdWords, you shouldn't measure and calculate the returns to optimize your campaigns. Actually, you can still use Google Analytics tools to track your campaign, even though you're advertising on Baidu. There aren't as many analytical tools in China, for example, like Mars or Clicky, as we use here in the UK and in the US. For the China market, but it is still just as important to make sure you're looking at analyzing your campaigns to optimize them and get good returns. So now I wanted to give you a quick example of how an early website can be used in China to help you find e-market partners and good returns from your trade shows investment. Sorry, I've just gone so far for another slide. So we said the first step was to build the local China website, then to start doing some search engine marketing with Baidu and also to use social media. The easiest one for you to use in the beginning will be Weibo. There are two types of accounts, personal and company. For the company accounts, you will need a business license and to sign lots of Chinese internet paperwork. It's just the same with Baidu. And by the way, this account needs to be renewed annually. So every year you need to upload these things all over again. But if you get the hang of it, it really doesn't take that long. The good news, though, is that you don't have to be a Chinese registered company here. You can use a US business license, for example. So to be verified, you can use an e-market partner or local subsidiary, or you can verify using your non-Chinese headquarters. You can be verified as an overseas company. So once you're verified, you get this magic blue V sign next to your account. That means that the Chinese audience will trust that you are not a counterfeit and that you're a legitimate company. So it is really important for your brand and reputation. Without it, the Chinese will be very suspicious. With your blue V sign, you can now set up a Weibo advertising account. You have to pay an initial deposit of around $800. Then it works very similar to Facebook advertising, although without the very sort of sophisticated targeting. The first objective is to get brand awareness, obviously, big enough so that you can explore the other big social media venues like WeChat. So building brand awareness, driving traffic starts with a good Weibo strategy. Once you have some online momentum, then you have more choice and you can define your online strategy depending on your business objectives and circumstances. So these are the starting points we would recommend that we have seen working well for our clients, and you can use to then develop an e-commerce strategy or whichever route to market you prefer. Now we've come to my favorite, the quick example of how an early website can be used in China to help you find e-market partners. And this would also be helpful to get good returns from your trade show investments. Now, Bowman is US mid-sized company, and they sell via distributors. They also have many verticals in each market. This means they need lots of distributors. So trade shows and connecting with good e-market partners is really important to them. We built the China site last year, and one of the objectives of the site is to attract new distributors. They use social media and online marketing ahead of events like trade shows to generate demand for their existing distributors and to encourage new potential partners to meet them at the shows. So we were talking about trade shows. Now, trade shows is a great moment to showcase your Chinese website and make sure you get the most out of the expense of the trade show, especially as China has come off the largest trade show in the world. Typically, we start an online marketing and media campaign about 2 months before the show. It really helps to have clear objectives like the footfall at the stand has to increase by X% compared to last year, or we need to identify X number of distributors. As long as the objectives are clear and realistic, they can be used to design the strategy. Then here are some of the things we would recommend. So paid ads on Weibo and Baidu advertising, that would really help you to get the knowledge out there. KOLs that are associated with a trade show and get those people to talk about you. And also normally trade show will have their own Weibo and WeChat account. They would be happy to talk about you, so you just need to give them your Chinese contents along with your Chinese website, so you are not wasting any of your money to just pay for the content. You will have some additional traffic to your website. And also a big thing in China is to do giveaways and promotions by your own or through third party during the trade show or with the KOLs. And then again, during the show, you would like to collect more followers for your Weibo or WeChat account. Now, QR codes are really important in this process. Everything has to be one scan away for your Chinese audience. So when they scan your QR code, they will go to your homepage for your Weibo or WeChat account, and they have the option to click on follow the page. This can be for Weibo, WeChat, whatever you're having to drive traffic to. So when you're running a promotion, you need to make sure they click on the follow button as a return for the free gifts they're getting. This is just a great way to get some offline traffic. So for example, a lot of companies are actually using this to gain followers on WeChat. And Chinese companies use this very extensively, as they know this is a great way to get targeted followers. So they go all out, especially for the promotions and giveaways, and the audience accepts in return for clicking on the follow button. So we would highly recommend non-Chinese companies do the same. Now, I think we're coming to the end of our PowerPoint. I will just hand over to Sana here.
Before we do, I think we have our last poll. John?
Okay, we're absolutely ready. Look, thank you so much indeed, Vanessa. That was really factful, very, very interesting. There is a poll that I'm about to launch, the last poll. Here we go, please. Everybody, are you ready? It's directly related to this. Do you use social media and online marketing to optimize your trade shows? Well, it's becoming essential to be successful at trade shows today. It's yes before, and indeed, as Vanessa was saying, preparation. It's all about preparation. And then, of course, there's during and the follow-up after. Yes, but only social media. Number 3, our distributors. Are you thinking about it, or is the answer no? Well, I'm very pleased to give you the feedback. It is a resounding win for those of you who are yes before, during, and after the shows. A solid 70% are saying that they're on it. Well done. The 14% of you who say you're thinking about it, and the 10% who say no, I do encourage you to think about it. It is absolutely the way to go, and it will get more and more important in the years to come. And it's essential to be successful in Chinese trade shows to be online. So that is the horn for the last and final poll, which I'm going to close, and I'm going to hand back to Susanna. Thank you.
Well, John, we've tried to pack as much information as we could into the time. Hope we haven't run over time. Do we have time for a few questions? Are there any questions?
Yeah, there are, and there are a lot. And first of all, I'd like to thank you, the attendees, the audience, for all of the questions. If we don't get back to them right now, do know that we've got them here. We will be answering them over the days to come. But I'm going to jump on this first one. I think I understand the question. Yeah, let's give it to Vanessa. Here you go. Vanessa, what about dialects in China? How many are there, and how do you? What are websites in China, or can you just have one to deal with dialects? Please, tell us about dialects, Vanessa.
That is a great question. First of all, China is huge. I have no idea how many dialects there are in China. We have 56 ethnicities, but you know, common language is Mandarin. So for the internet and for your website, you don't have to worry about other dialects. You have simplified Chinese for writing, and that is standardized throughout mainland China. So you can have just one website for the 1.3 billion people out there. Really not a bad investment.
Yes, I love the way you finished that, Vanessa. In fact, a very, very good investment. Susanna, I'm going to throw this one to you. It's about e-commerce platforms, and it's of course the nuts and bolts of it. It's about how much does it cost to sell via e-commerce platforms?
Well, it depends a bit. So some of these figures are going to be sort of rounded up, but let's say the two largest was JD.com and Tmall. The cost, first of all, is a deposit of about $15,000 equivalent, which you put as a frozen deposit. It's like a guarantee, so that if you break the rules that they have, they fine you. After that, there's an annual fee of about $1,000 per platform, so JD and Tmall. Then there's a commission, and that ranges between 3 to 10%, depending on the category of product. And of course, they reserve the right to raise the commission whenever they choose. So your absolute minimum cost is about $16,000 just to be on the platform, and then you've got commission, obviously. So there you go. It's not nothing.
Yeah, indeed. And those are some numbers around which one can sort of, well, absolutely do the costing, the return on investment. And I'm sure that they know what they're doing, and that there's money in the market to be made. Vanessa, I'm going to grab this one and throw it to you. So key opinion leaders, you were talking about key opinion leaders. How do you identify, how do you find KOLs, key opinion leaders, sector by sector? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so this is actually quite a debatable question. I would say, obviously, you've got to do a lot of research through industry forums, blogs, through your local distributors' knowledge. For consumer goods, for example, there are lots of tools to research on KOLs, and this is usually categorized into fields like luxury, lifestyle. But then for B2B companies, you have to do a bit more digging. But, you know, after all, the KOLs want to be found. So a good KOL can be relatively easy to identify.
Yes, I like that. I hadn't thought of that. Of course, they want to be found themselves. So, Susanna, moving on quickly, hosting. It says here, and this is from, let me see, it's important to host in China, and is it safe?
Yes, good question. As we said right in the beginning about website localization, it's important to host in China, I think, for two reasons. The first is for your user experience. You have to have fast up and download speeds. Nobody waits anymore on the internet. It has to be fast. So you're not going to wait around for the page to load. So you need to host locally. Then for China itself, Baidu, the search engine, doesn't acknowledge your website, does not recognize you, and will not put you on their search unless it's hosted in mainland China or in Hong Kong. Is it safe? Yes, it's as safe as anywhere. These are huge, multi-billion-dollar companies who have a huge number of companies on them. Hosted through cloud. We use huge, very large international companies that have servers and backups in multiple locations. It's as safe as anywhere. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that one. And this one is from Tony. I'm sort of looking at the questions bar here, so sometimes perhaps I can't quite read it all, but this one is Vanessa, here you go. Websites use a lot of YouTube videos as demonstrations. Can we repurpose these videos for our China website? What do you do?
Well, I'm actually really glad you asked that because, first of all, video contents tend to work really well across social media channels. But I've just got to point out that YouTube is banned in China. You do have the option to upload them through lots of different media channels, including Weibo. I think actually Weibo supports videos that are 15 seconds long, so you just need some additional editing. I mean, it's also a really good idea to add some subtitles in simplified Chinese. There are other platforms for videos if you want longer videos, and you've got the option to go on Tencent Video and Youku to create an account and upload your video there. But they are actually used a bit differently from YouTube. But anyway, there are lots of options depending on your objectives.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to grab this last question and then fling it to Susanna, because guess what? It's a cost question. And then we really must close. So it's how much does an ICP filing cost? I can read that clearly. There you go, Susanna.
ICP filing, remember that this is what you need in order to get certain accounts. An ICP filing costs nothing. It just costs time. It takes about 3 weeks for the application, so that's not that bad, but there's quite a lot of paperwork to churn through. So it is a bit laborious in terms of bureaucracy, but it doesn't cost anything and takes 3 weeks to get an IC filing.
Wow, okay, thank you. Okay, well, there you go, John. That's the answer to that question, and others we will get back to you. So it's my turn now to say thank you very much to you all for attending today. Thank you for participating. We hope you enjoyed the webinar. We hope that you found all of that useful information and lots of takeaways to help you sell online in China. There is going to be a quick survey, so please give us an extra 10 seconds of your time. And don't forget that you will be getting that recording slide deck by email on Friday, so watch out for that. Now, I want to thank on everybody's behalf, Susanna and Vanessa, for really what a great job done. Very useful, and it is a way for us to say goodbye, wishing you all well and success in selling online in China. And here is some applause. Susanna, Vanessa, thank you for a great job done. We wish everybody a great day. Thank you for joining us. It's the end of today's Online in China webinar. Thank you again.